2 months ago, I started a YouTube channel and I quit after 3 videos. But oddly, it's made me a better coach. At the top of the year, January 1st, 2026, my mentor issued a challenge. She had been recording YouTube videos every single day for 100 days. So she came to us and said, YouTube is a place where you need to be. It allows you to speak in long form and be able to teach people and have the servant leadership spirit that I know many of you have. So the options were record a video for 100 days or record videos for 1 year. Now, of course, I chose 100 days because that felt so much easier than committing to 365 days. So let's do the math. I committed to 100, I got to 3, and I quit. So what happened? I think, like many of us, you can bite off more than you can chew. You can have this thought and this excitement and this dopamine rush of what it's going to feel like to put something new into the world and all of the excitement that comes from starting a new project. Now, to know things about me, I'm a manifesting generator. I come up with lots of ideas. So this felt like, yes, I'm going to be able to create every single day. It's going to be long form. I have the opportunity to talk to you as long as I want to and dive into the things that I've learned in my 20-year corporate career and what I've learned building a business. And most importantly, on the things that I love: personal brand, thought leadership, communication. I thought this is going to be easy. But what I hadn't expected is that I would get caught up in something that I had never been caught up in previously. And that was the numbers, the metrics, the data. Now, I want to be clear. I absolutely love data. I love metrics. I think those things are important. However, when you're starting out, those things are less relevant than the art of being consistent. And I had forgotten what it felt like to start something new. So if you're trying to put yourself out there, whether it's content or speaking, leadership, visibility, this is the part that not many people prepare you for. But today, this video will do that very thing. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the 3 beginner lessons that I relearned that ultimately has made me a better coach, a better speaker, and I like to think a more prepared human. Now, the first one is really simple, but it is probably the one that's talked about the least. It's that beginner again moment. We often talk about the beginner mindset, but we don't spend as much time talking about the beginner again mindset. Now, this requires me to kind of take you back. So follow me on this journey. I've spent my entire career working in corporate marketing. I've loved marketing. And after, I don't know, about 10, 12, 15 years in the role, I started to look around and wonder, is this all that there is? I still loved marketing, but the role that I was in had changed shape. There were a bunch of reorgs that happened within the company, and I wasn't feeling as lit up as I used to be. Now I spun out and ruminated on what was going to be the thing that I decided to do, and ultimately I landed on podcasting. It took me a long time to land on podcasting, but that's another video for another time. But back in 2017, I made the decision that podcasting was going to be the thing that I tried. And I loved the art form. I'd been a listener for so many years at that point. So I sat right in the middle of my bed with my laptop, no idea what I was going to talk about. And I spoke into the microphone on my laptop, which I do not recommend. Get yourself a good microphone. And I recorded. And the only commitment I had to myself back then was record an episode every week. Just show up and record an episode every week. Now, I want to contrast that to this experience that I had with YouTube. I didn't have that same beginner mindset of just show up every day. Instead, what are the analytics saying? How many people have watched the video? How long did they watch the video for? Why hasn't anyone watched the video? All of these questions started to get in front of the task at hand, which was all of this started to get in front of the task at hand, which was to record a video every day for 100 days. And now I was thinking about perfectionism. I was overthinking about the content and the videos that I would record. I was comparing my journey to strangers that I didn't know. Then there was the uncertainty that came with, am I going to do this for 100 days and only speak to crickets? There was thoughts about tech friction. Should I have a better setup? Will that make a difference? Should I have some lights in the background or different plants? All of these things started to fill up in my head where I was overanalyzing again and again and again. Now, on top of that, when you do something like this, whether it's talking direct to camera on YouTube, it's starting a podcast, it's creating a blog or a Substack or a Beehive, there's no feedback loop. So if no one has found you yet and you're not sharing it with other people, which is another thing I wasn't doing, there's no feedback loop. It's just you watching the video, first loving it, then liking it, then critiquing yourself, and then eventually picking apart what's happening. I had forgotten what I had done to build the success of my podcast, which was to stay focused on getting better at podcasting. That was the only thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to become a better podcaster, which meant strong topics, compelling stories, mastering the craft of being behind the microphone and holding somebody's attention. Then it was learning the tech and learning how to edit. And then after 6 months, I started to invite guests to come onto the show because I wanted to be so respectful of someone else's time and to make sure that I knew what the hell I was talking about before I invited somebody else to guest on the show. Now, you'll probably notice that nowhere in there was I obsessing over numbers or countries that listened or whether or not people were writing in. I was only focused on getting better at what it was that I was doing. And every single week, I showed up to my podcast. And I had this commitment, and it didn't matter if it was 11 o'clock at night, midnight. I knew that by 2 a.m., I was going to have a podcast episode released every single time. I didn't have that beginner's mindset when I started this YouTube channel. I had all these expectations and I compared what I had done back then, what the numbers look like, where I am right now, and the bit of success that I've had in this space. And I thought, well, I need to look at it differently now. I need to be smarter. I need to be more organized. I need to be more focused on the data for this to be successful. And what this reminded me is that being a beginner isn't hard because you don't know what to do. You do know what to do. You are capable. You are listening to me right now because you have experience, you have expertise, you have life wisdom that you know that you can leverage in whatever direction of the goals you want. So it's not that being a beginner is hard because you don't know what to do. It's hard because you don't know who you are yet in that arena. I felt very comfortable with who I was as a podcaster. I feel very comfortable with who I am as a speaker who's spoken at over 150 companies. I feel very comfortable and confident as to who I am as a coach, being able to help people achieve their goals. But in this space, as a YouTuber, starting something new, I didn't know who I was yet in that arena. And I didn't stay to figure it out. So after 3 videos and very low views, I decided to close up shop and I Homer Simpson my way into the background. And I still thought about YouTube, but I didn't return to YouTube. Now, if that is something that you can relate to, I want you to drop a comment and say begin. Put beginner mindset in the comments and let me know that this is where you are in the journey. Now, something else that happened after video number 3, it wasn't the effort that it took to record the videos. It was more the silence, that self-doubt, wondering, not so much who am I to say this, but is my message going to reach people? Am I going to be able to be effective in this medium the way that I feel I'm effective when I was on podcasting, when I was on stage, when I talk to people one-on-one in a coaching container? Am I going to be able to do that? And those were the thoughts that came after video 3. Then you can introduce things that are very common. I know you feel it too. It's those life moments that come. Those moments where the day is really busy and you think, I'll do it tomorrow. Or you get hit with the weekend and then there's parties and events and shopping and rest and cleaning the house and all of the things that happen in the 2 days that we have to get all of our life done in the margins. And you think, do I want to record a video today? So this quit happened in a combination of the silence, looking at the metrics, the whispers of self-doubt that started to come in, and then life that started to creep in and seem like a really good excuse for not recording anything anymore. I didn't quit because I was lazy. I didn't quit because I didn't have ideas. I didn't quit because I didn't believe in the things that I was thinking and teaching. I quit because I forgot what it costs to be new. And what it costs to be new is uncomfortability. It is self-doubt. It is second guessing. Those things are part of it. It's the price of admission when you're doing anything new. But I had forgotten that. And it helped me become better because I remembered that this is the very same feeling that many of you feel when you are starting new, when you're thinking about building your personal brand, or you want to show up online and share some perspectives that you have, or even when you're communicating your value in a space and you want other people to listen. When you've had your head down and you've worked so hard, and now you look up and you think, oh, the game has changed. I need to show up differently because the way things were working before aren't the way things are working right now. So I need to change up. But to change up requires to do something new, and it also requires to be someone new. And those things have to work together to achieve that success. So this is how, but at the top of this video, I told you that quitting after 3 videos has made me a better speaker and a better coach. And I want to be precise in telling you how it did those things. The 3 biggest lessons that I learned from my journey would be this. The first lesson, beginners don't need motivation, they need permission. I felt like I needed to be good before I'm seen. I needed to have some views before I could continue to move forward. Whether you're looking for a like, a share, someone to call you or text you and say, I love this thing that you put out there. Whether you're looking for a pat on the back from someone you work with or a decision maker or your boss. But I want you to realize that progression requires these awkward reps. It requires you to fumble over how you introduce yourself in a new meeting, going to a networking event and feeling uncomfortable in the space. And now when I think about how I'm coaching people, I know that I can give clients a messy reps plan, a way that's not about being perfect, but it is intentionally a messy reps plan. How are you going to do it messy, knowing that all of these feelings are going to come with it? We are bringing all of those feelings on board and we're saying, welcome, just come in. Come in. We know that you're going to be here. So instead of pretending I don't feel them or getting freaked out that I do feel them, we're going to welcome them with us and say, hey, what's up, self-doubt? I knew you were going to be here. We're going to go do this thing anyway. And as a coach, it's helped me when my clients are in this place where they feel that the thing that I give them, the next step that I offer them, when I'm sitting here in this chair thinking, what's happening? Why does this step feel so hard? And they don't have the language to articulate that to me. I now know that it's not because they need more motivation. They don't need an atta girl, an atta boy, a pat on the shoulder. They need permission to do it messy. And even though I had that permission from my mentor, and she warned that it was going to be messy when we first started, I hadn't given that permission to myself. I was operating off of an old plan, a plan that said that I was well versed and I knew how to do this and I would be able to do it again, even though it's an entirely different medium. Now, if you're new to the world of podcasts, you might say, how is this new? But in 2017, people were just using audio. They weren't showing up on video and recording in the same way. But it's different now. It's 2026, and podcasts have become synonymous with both audio and video. And it might seem like a small difference, but getting on camera, talking to you, having yourself out there, having myself out there for you to see, versus me recording in a tiny closet with a messy bun and all these notes around me is very different than me coming to you now, unscripted, wanting to share what I'm thinking. It's a different ball game, but I'm approaching it with the begin again mindset. Okay, so that's the first lesson. You don't need motivation, you need permission. Permission that it's going to be messy. Now, the second lesson that I learned that helped make me a better coach and better speaker after recording 3 YouTube videos and then quitting is that confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. Now, I've known this before. I've talked about this in my actual talks and keynotes and workshops that I've given, is that action is the antidote to fear. I've said that many times. Action is the antidote to fear. And in this space, we wait for confidence. We think that one day we're going to wake up and say, "Ooh, I feel confident today, baby." But that's not how it works. It very rarely works that way. It's not a prerequisite to beginning. It's a result of the actions that you take, even when your hands are shaking, even when you think this ain't gonna work. If I don't feel confident, I shouldn't post or speak. That's what you tell yourself. I don't feel confident today. I don't feel like I look good. I don't have anything to say. My voice is a little hoarse. There's trains in the background. There's no time to do it. But then look at the people who have accounts where they're recording right in their car. In their car, gray background, you can see the parking lot, and it doesn't matter because the message is what resonates with people, because they are okay getting in their messy reps because their goal is more significant than the product they're producing right in this moment. What I've learned, and now what I can bring to my coaching clients, is that confidence only follows evidence. You have to first get the evidence and see yourself succeeding, see yourself excelling, because confidence is coming from those reps. So you'll see the pattern. We started with the messy reps. Now you're going to see that the confidence is coming as a result of those messy reps. This might feel uncomfortable because, again, you're going to think, well, it's coming from reps, but it's following evidence. But what if the evidence is telling me that nobody's watching my videos? What if the evidence is telling me I'm not landing job offers, or I'm not getting invited to speak, or I'm not achieving the promotion that I looked for? Well, these reps are only getting you more seasoned and preparing you for the very thing that you are looking to achieve. I mentioned earlier that it took me about 6 months before I invited any guests to appear on my podcast. And that is because I wanted to have those messy reps with myself, not messy reps with other people in their time and in their story and in their tender moments. I needed to get those messy reps for me. And the confidence came from that evidence that I built by sitting behind a microphone by myself and recording and figuring it out, and stumbling over my words and saying lots of ums and ahs and you knows, and realizing I say a lot of filler words, or I say a lot of things with a Bronx accent because I'm from New York City, and recognizing those things and still saying, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to keep coming back every single week. But when I was recording those videos and when I walked away from YouTube a couple of months ago, I had forgotten that lesson. So now I focus on things like repeatable behaviors. What are the frameworks that we can use? What are the bullet points of the things you want to accomplish? What are the practice loops that we can do? Because over time, those things will become easier. Much like when you're going to the gym and the first time you lift those weights and you're going to do a squat or a deadlift or a chest press, it feels like it's impossible. But over time, it's easier. And then you add weight, and then you add some more weight. And why is that happening? Because your confidence follows the evidence. If you're new to the gym, you're not stacking the bar to 225 and saying, I'm going to squat this. Instead, you're saying, I'm going to start with bodyweight squats. Maybe I'll start with an empty bar. But as you build that evidence and your confidence grows, then you start adding some more weights and more plates to that barbell. It's the same thing, but I had forgotten about that. And there's some sessions now that I have with my clients where forget about the list of things that we're doing. The only goal that we have is what is the one thing that we're going to work on from now until the next week. Because that one thing can be all that you can manage in that week. But if every week we start adding one more thing, by the end of the month, you're up to 4 things. By the end of 2 months, you're up to 8 things. And who knows, over time, you can start to build that confidence so you can add more things to your plate. But if I give you 3 things every week and then next week you don't get it done, and then the next week you don't get it done, by the end of the month, we may not have accomplished anything. So what is the thing that you can do while you're building your messy reps, while you're building that evidence, which is going to bring about confidence? Okay, so we talked the first lesson about beginners. You don't need motivation. You just need permission. The second lesson number 2, is that confidence isn't a prerequisite. It's a result of the actions you take. And now the third lesson, clarity comes after you start talking. And what I mean by clarity when I say this isn't about the topics. I'm not changing the topics. It's not a whole new channel. I'm not going from talking about personal brand and thought leadership and executive presence and how to advance in your career. I'm not doing a switch up to now I'm talking about Pokemon. That's not where we're going here. But the confidence that I required after I start talking was to understand which topics are going to resonate with people. What are people most interested in? Where do they have a gap that they're looking to fill? But I wasn't able to get that far because I stopped after 3 videos. So before you could tell me what you needed, what resonated with you, I jumped ship. I was out the door, back in my corner thinking, damn, I really wanted that YouTube thing to work out. But after 3 days, I let it go. So before my niche or I don't even like to say niche because you are the niche. Before any of that was honed, before I could define the videos that you wanted to see or the ways that I would be able to teach you, I bailed. So, what I've learned, the realization that came to me is that my message is going to sharpen through repetition and feedback. And your message will do the same thing. This doesn't matter whether you're starting to build your visible leadership, which is a cornerstone of everything I teach. You will start to realize what is connecting with people through the active repetition and the feedback you receive. When I was first beginning and I would go to networking events, it was very hard for me to separate myself as the corporate marketer versus myself in the podcasting space and what I was trying to build. So if you followed me around a networking event, you would have thought I was nuts. Every person I met, I had a slightly different variation of how I introduced myself. I would switch up the words, I would try different sentences. But if you were following me around that party or that event, you would think, what is it that this woman actually does? Because she keeps changing it up. Now, the reason I did that is because I was looking to see what resonated with people. So I said before that your message is going to sharpen through repetition and feedback. Now, the feedback that I was looking for is, when did people lean in? When did I see their eyes kind of start to look over at the breakfast bar or the buffet saying, I don't really know what this person is talking about? At what point did they ask more questions? Did they want to know more about me? Oh, that's interesting. Or did they want to connect with me afterwards or connect me to someone else that they knew? That is the type of recognition that we're looking for. This is the type of feedback that can only happen through putting in those reps. And that is something that I did back then, but I had forgotten to do now. So it's carried with me. So how did this lesson number 3, clarity comes after you start talking, how have I brought that into my coaching with clients? Well, now we start with the point of view. I've always been very strong on understanding from a thought leadership perspective, what is my client's distinct perspective on the topics of their expertise? Not just their expertise, but also in accordance with where they want to go. And so we now look at things, we start with our point of view, the 3 problems that the audience is having. Again, we're starting small with 3, not all of them, and then letting the brand emerge from there. Because it's important that, yes, we're connected to your goals and the places that you want to travel to, but also it has to make sense for the person that's going to help get you there. Unless you're independently wealthy, we are all working for someone else. And we want to understand what is the pain point of the person that our brand, our thought leadership, and our communication is going to help solve. And this takes me back to the beginning of my personal brand, before I had a voice, a message, or any proof that was mine, not borrowed from the company that I was hired to be at. When I was building my personal brand, as I mentioned, I felt off. I felt as if I enjoyed the work, but I wasn't as connected to the work anymore. I started to feel very boxed in, and it felt rinse and repeat, which makes a lot of sense when you've been doing something for a very, very long time, as I had. And there was this tension of whether or not people are seeing me. Specifically, I had performance reviews and I always checked in with managers. And I remember sharing things that I wanted to do, other areas of the business that I wanted to help support, places where I wanted to shadow. And it was always told, yes, but this needs to happen, or in this time, or maybe then. And my goals, my professional goals for myself, kept getting kicked further and further down the street. And so I was functioning well in the role that I had, but that is how they saw me. They saw me through this very narrow prism of this is what she does well. And even though she talks about these other things, that's nice. Eventually, she'll stop talking about it. And I wasn't seeing for all of the things that I could bring to the organization. Now, this is very common in large companies. When you have a company of 10,000 employees or more, you have a very specific role that you fill. And there's not a lot of room to move left and right and have that lateral positioning. So I stayed in this lane. And eventually, this lane felt very crowded for me and it felt cramped. And I wanted some more space. I wanted some more wiggle room. And I wasn't getting that from the organization. And I also started to think, I want to be known for my ideas. I want my voice to carry more weight in the things that matter to me, the things that I feel at the end of the day when my life is nearing its end. And I think, what did I want to be known for? How was I able to make an impact in this world? Who was I able to serve? I knew that there was more in me than what I was currently experiencing in the place where I was. That was the moment where I knew I wanted to be known for something more. And that first step, as I mentioned earlier, was podcasting. There's no better way to be known for your voice than to actually get behind a microphone and to start using it for yourself and talking about the things you want to talk about and saying it in the ways that you want to say it without anybody coaching you, without anybody massaging your message or censoring your message or truncating your message. That was important for me. And that was that very first step that I took. It was imperfect. If you go back and you listen to the You Want to Do What podcast, it's still up there. Episode 1 is a hot mess. I should change the title to Hot Mess Express because it was so bad. It was so bad from the way that it sounded to how I opened a podcast for the very first time. I talked about things that could have been saved for episode 2 or episode 3. But do you know what that did? It got me to put in my reps and it got me to start. And that's all you need to do. You need to be able to start. And after I did that, the shift is me realizing that visibility is a skill, something that can be taught. And now it's what I teach. I think we're all leaders. You are a leader right now listening to this video. And it doesn't matter if your title says you're a leader. It doesn't matter if you're an individual contributor who doesn't manage people. We are all leaders in our spaces, in our homes, in our friend groups, in our communities, amongst ourselves. And because you're a leader, there's skills that you can tap into. And when I teach people about visibility being a skill and how they can use it and hone it to go in the directions that they want to go, well, that makes me feel the most lit up. So if you're listening to this video and you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to be able to stay in the game when I'm new? How am I going to be able to do this in the mix of life and my job role? And it feels like what I want to do is so far away from what I am right now. I want you to get this very simple framework. So just grab a pen, anything that you have near you, and just keep this down. It's a 3B system. I want you to think of it this way, a 3B system, very easy for you to remember. The first one is begin small. That's your first B. Begin small. Whatever you do, whether you're posting on social media, you're going to a networking event, you're setting up coffee chats or lunch dates with people in your organization that you want to learn about what they do, or just want to get more exposure or visibility, I want you to get 10 reps in before you judge yourself. 10 reps, not 3 like I did. Don't be like me. 10 reps before you judge yourself. So that's your first B. I want you to begin small. Your second B is build evidence. Track your wins, when you felt consistent, when you had courage, all of those things. It's not about views. I don't want you to look at likes. I don't want you to even look at outcomes. I want you to check in with yourself. I felt really good in that meeting. I like the way I said that. My body felt calm when I was in that meeting or event. Those are the wins that I want you to track. It may be I showed up for all 10 reps in the first 2 weeks. Or I had courage when I walked into the room and I immediately wanted to hightail it out of there because it didn't feel like my space. That's the evidence that I want you to build, and then I want you to track those things. And then the last B is be seen on purpose. One message, one audience, one event, one CTA, one goal. But I want you to be seen on purpose with that very thing. So those are the 3 B's. It's going to be begin small, right? We're going to get 10 reps in before you judge yourself. The second B is to build that evidence where you're tracking your wins. And these aren't metrics that you're looking for. These aren't likes. These aren't offers. This is tracking your wins of how you feel in your body. And most importantly, how you're showing up for yourself. And then the last B is I want you to be seen on purpose. One message, one platform, one CTA, be seen on purpose. Quitting after 3 videos, it didn't make me a fraud. It simply reminded me of what my clients are living through. It has made me a better coach, a better speaker, and a more empathetic leader to remember what it is like to be a beginner and to now bring that newfound wisdom back into the spaces with me. I can now show up in the containers in a more compassionate way because I'm not 9 years ago when I first launched this thing. It is happening again today, right alongside my clients, and we're able to build together and feel those uncomfortable feelings together. But I get to go first, and I help to lead them to where they want to go. So if you're a woman of color in corporate and you still feel like you're building in the dark, I want you to subscribe to this channel because we're going to be talking a lot more about these very things. We are building your visible leadership, and it starts with personal brand, thought leadership, and executive presence. You're going to be able to communicate better. You're going to be able to see yourself more clearly, and you are going to be able to achieve the goals that you have set out for yourself. We're just getting started. I'm going to keep showing up for you. You keep showing up for yourself, and let's go get it. Till next time. See y'all.